Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers, increase profits, and ultimately live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and this week's episode is another special Quit Your Day Job series where I interview members of the Artist Academy about how they quit their day job and went into full-time creativity and the skills they use to do that and the tips and business tricks and all the things. And this week's episode features Brittany Grala. She's a muralist based in Pennsylvania and has been in the academy for a little over a year. And within that year, she has been able to quit and replicate her day job salary by diving into full-time mural work. I met Brittany last year at our Missouri Mural Meetup, and I watched a fire start within her. She went home with stars in her eyes, giving so much effort to her art business. And things were slow at first, but you can see when an artist is going to make it. You know, you're not sure when, but I knew she was because she was giving so much effort. And effort, a lot of it, is the key puzzle piece that determines whether an artist will make it or not. Listen to this week's episode to hear exactly where Brittany put those efforts and went full-time with her art business. Okay, I'm here with Brittany, and let's just get to it. Brittany, can you give us a short story about how you got to where you are and how you ended up quitting your day job?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be doing this interview with you. So I started, full-time, technically about this time last year. I was working a day job, a desk job at home. I was working from home, and I had been like, okay, I'm doing murals plus this, and it's not fulfilling, and can I make it work? And I actually had given my notice to my job with the intention of taking on another job that I was thinking, okay, I could do this instead because it would be more of a part-time role, giving me more time for art. And then I decided, it was December when I actually decided I'm not going to take this other job because I can make this work. I can do this full-time and not only make the same amount, but surpass that. And so that was my intention at the time. And so December was when I went truly full-time. So it's been quite an adventure. And I feel like this is my hustle year. So I've been just doing all the things that I can to get me to that next tier, because my goal for next year is to hit 100K. So that's my plan, and I'm headed there. I'm going to make it happen. So yeah.
I think that's totally possible because you're focusing on murals and you're getting some bigger jobs recently. You've gotten some really good paying jobs. Can you tell us about some of those?
Yeah. So obviously the bigger the job, the bigger the pay. And so those are my favorite probably to go after, and the ones I get most excited about. And I think the more you do, the more you promote and I've just taken everything that I've tried to learn from you, from your book and the Artist Academy, of seeing other people, how they have done it, and, promoting those kind of projects that I really enjoy, and the ones that I don't know, I want more of those kind of art projects. And this is drip canvas is my favorite, those drip murals that I do sometimes, I just enjoy them so much. So I'm okay, I need to promote these more, or show those kind of art.
So how are you getting these jobs?
Most are word of mouth now, and don't spend anything on advertising anymore. At the beginning, I was doing Google ads, Facebook ads. I still do Thumbtack. I get a fair amount of leads from Thumbtack, but it really is mostly word of mouth now. And I do promote in Facebook groups, and, I share on social media, and other people share for me and recommend me on social media. Every time there's in a community group, if someone's looking for a recommendation for a mural artist, I'm mentioned over and over again, which is awesome. So I'm okay, something's working. And so I just have to stay on top of that, which is it's hard because I'm always on. So I feel I thought that I would have more time not working, but I really am on all the time, and it's good and bad because it's I enjoy the work. It doesn't feel like work, but it still is work, and I still am taking away from my family at times. So I do feel I do have to find that balance as I go, and hopefully get to that level where I'm not feeling the need to constantly respond to leads and communicating with people and I think I'll get
Yeah,
there.
so you're a mom of two super ornery boys,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
there's
4 and 6, they keep me
yeah,
busy
so
for
you're having to
sure.
juggle all the things. So whenever I started out my art thing, I didn't have the family yet, and now I do, so I can kind of see how it's way more of a juggle. What are your hours like?
I typically, if I'm putting in like a full day of painting on the job, I'll get the kids to school on the bus, and then I'll go to my job site and put in however many hours I can. In the evening, I'll do the mom duty stuff. And then once they're in bed, I will do all of my admin stuff, my tasks, my social media, my email communications. So I do a lot of work from bed at night. So I like get them down, and then I do my own work usually from bed.
Yeah, I'm in that era lately of, okay, as soon as baby goes down, I'm like, I really would like to just rest because it's the full day
Yeah.
of, momming and working. And so sometimes I'll work, but sometimes I'm just like, heck with it. Let's turn on Netflix.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. And so I think, especially the physical toll of some of the jobs, like, the big jobs when you're on ladder and scaffolding and stuff, like it really takes its toll. So you got to take care of yourself. And I'm not great at that, but I do know that that's an area that's important.
Yeah, so you took a different approach. You have a guy friend here locally that you guys kind of teamed up to do some murals together. Can you talk about that? Because that's not something that everybody does. I mean, usually people kind of go solo and they have a
Yes.
helper,
Yeah.
like with as their spouse that they like that I drag him out to. So, but you have an
Yeah.
artist friend.
He's actually a painter, like a house painter is his. So we have together a combination of skills that are just really helpful for especially the big murals and like prep work. He does all sorts of like drywall and like all that. So, and external. So he has those skills and the knowledge that I lack, and vice versa. Like he's so fast and so good at like covering huge areas quickly. And I'm like the detail oriented, like I clean up the lines and like everything after, and like the combination, and he does do the art too. He's a really good artist, but the combination of us both working together, it really is able to just help us get jobs done quicker and better. So yeah, I recommend partnering with like looking for someone that specializes in house painting versus like the art, because like you learn so much on the job from each other. And it's just, I feel like, and that's why I love partnering with other artists too. And like the Wildwood job that I did, that big 80-foot by 20-foot on the side of a gym, there was a couple, we had Alex and Katie from the Artist Academy come to help us too. And so I love feeling that like the collaboration, being able to support one another and learn from each other. So yeah, I always feel like the more the merrier on the job, and like it gets the job done faster. And like, yeah.
I love it. So did he have his own business? Was he working for himself before? For how long?
Yeah, he still does. So yeah, he's been in business for like, gosh, 10 years, maybe 5 or
Oh,
10 years.
that's so great to have somebody to ask questions about things about being your own boss. But I mean, you have the academy and myself, but like it's good to have somebody
Yeah.
like physically next to you that can help you bid things.
Yeah, especially like locally, we're trying to get into our township. Like there are so many areas that I drive past and I'm like, oh, that needs a mural. That needs a mural. Like any wall is a blank canvas that needs a mural, I think. So like together we are trying to like talk to community leaders and promote things and try to get, more art around this area. So yeah, just it's all really like networking and getting, being active in the community, keeping your name and yourself and your work relevant is huge.
Okay. So last year, I'm just going to recap on your timeline. So last year, December, you said you left your job. You've been doing this a little less than a year. And then
Yeah.
next year, you have the goal of 100K. That is a very short timeline, and
Yeah.
I love it.
So my goal for this year was to meet what I had made last year. So my salary last year when I was working, like my full-time job was $52,000. And I was like, I can do that. I can make that happen with like art. So I'm on track. That's kind of where I'm going to go, where I'm going to be and end up this year. But yeah, to expect to double that next year, I know it sounds like a lot, but I have purposely, because I'm in this I feel like I'm at the beginning stage of my mural career. So I have not priced things as I should have all the time. So I have intentionally, because I know that I'm not at that level. So some of the jobs I have not quoted as I should have and not made as much as I should have, but I've gained so much from them. The exposure, the experience, that practice. And it's really like, I just have to get enough practice. So I have to find people that are willing to let me play on their walls. And I've gotten now to that point where I can start charging what I'm actually worth. And so now I will make that happen with the money. But yeah, that first year, I feel like I haven't gone after the amounts that I should have probably asked for. But
I think what you just said, I'm just like, yes, exactly everything that you just said, because that happens to literally every muralist ever. Like myself, everybody that gets into it, you just want the job so bad. And so you're like, 4,000 when it maybe should have been 8 or something like that. But whatever, like to get a solid yes, like you're getting paid to practice, like getting paid to practice. Like some people go to school and they pay other people, they pay the university or the art school or whatever to practice. But no, I love this approach of just learning as you go. And even though it's not as much, it's just so valuable. So, and I think that's so relatable to anybody listening that is in your first year, especially. Like everybody underprices and then you fix it. Like, I feel like I just now am fixing it after years. Or I fixed it a little bit every year and a little bit more. And now I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm kind of there finally.
Yeah. And I remember you talking on your podcast and in your book about, having that mental, like, oh, well, this is what I would pay for it. And that's how I am too. Like, I'm like, oh, well, what would I spend if I was the customer? And what's like, but other people are willing to spend more. And so I have to feel like, okay, I have to like actually look at the bigger picture here, like not limit myself. So that's definitely a mental hurdle that I'm still trying to work on too.
I love it. Okay. So what were your feelings around ditching your job and going full time with your creativity? Because that's a lot. That's a big move for everybody and to anybody to do. So I guess, how many jobs did you have lined up to where you're like, okay, I think I can do this?
Murals?
Or just painting jobs in general or something, any kind of income coming in?
I had a number of paid jobs. Like things were starting. And I was like, okay, I just made $1,000 painting this mural in someone's home. I just made like $400 and on this one. I'm like, well, if I can do this like in a week versus, I don't know. Like I just was trying to do the math I guess I didn't have things lined up, but I just knew that it'll happen. Like I just had that faith and that trust. And when I had made the decision and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to start this new job on Monday. And it was a Friday, I remember. And I just like was flipping a coin because I was like, I'm going to determine this on, the coin flip. If it's heads up, I'm going to take the job. If it's heads down, I'm going to say no. And this is how I make decisions. But I knew like after I had flipped it and before I looked at it, I was like, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not taking it, whether this is heads or tails, because in that moment of the coin flipping, before you look at it, your gut tells you. And that's how my therapist tells me you shouldn't flip coins, but I'm like, it works for me. Like I before I look at it, that's when I actually know that like what I should do. So when I did look at it and it was tails, I was like, that's it. I really am not taking this job. And I'm just going to do this full time. And I remember looking at a mural I had put in our own home. It was a pit mural that I had painted for my husband, and he's really into sports. So it was a surprise mural that I did for him. But I remember looking at that and I was like, I can do this. I did this. Like, this is good. I'm going to do this. And so I was like, okay, this is the path. And I'm going to just try to do whatever it takes to make it happen.
I love it. I love that you have so much faith in it. You're so fun. I love that. I've never heard anybody really say that, but I'm glad that you did it. When you came to the Mural Meetup in Missouri last year, and
Yeah.
I got to meet you. You went home and there was just a fire lit underneath you. I noticed it just from seeing your posts, and it's so cool to see that you came and we talked about things, and we did some stuff at the meetup. But as soon as you got home, you just hit the ground running, and that is the key to success for anybody, because a lot of people, you have that motivation, and then you go home, and then life gets in the way, and you could have had every excuse for life to get in the way. You have a family and like all the things, but you're like, okay, I don't even have many jobs lined up, but she can do this and I can do this, and I've had a couple and I believe in myself, and you worked at it. Because a lot of people, they will come and ask me like, hey, I want to go full time. How long do you think it'll take me? I'm like, well, it just kind of depends how much, effort you want to put into it right away. Like if you put in 8 hours a day, you're going to go really, really quickly. But if it's like you're working around a side job, it's going to go slower. But and either way is fine. But you're like, nope, I'm doing it. So what would be your number one recommendation if somebody's like, okay, I've gotten some jobs and they're like you, right? And they're like, I'm doing this. Like come summertime, which is prime mural time, I'm going to do this. And what is your number one way of getting new jobs?
I feel like, and what you were saying about the mural meetup, that really did light the fire for me. Like that was a turning point, because I remember, just it was such an experience that I wish I could go to the one coming up in a couple weeks too, but like you guys are going to have so much fun and I'm so jealous. But the mural meetups, I mean, that I would, tell people if they're able to get to a mural meetup or try to just learn, like never stop learning, never stop practicing, and you'll develop skills on the job really. And as you go, like that's kind of, I feel like I learned something new with every project. I learn how to manage things better, and you do get faster. Like I've noticed myself, like my first mural that I did on my son's room, like I remember I actually used like a pizza pan to trace circles. And like, it was like, it took me so long to paint that dog with the sports balls. And I was like, I don't know, like can I paint? Like this took me hours and hours. And then like I just did his Philly Fanatic last week in a couple hours. I was like, I'm getting faster. Like this is cool. Like I actually feel like I'm going to be able to like make a bit better money, make it faster. So like just the practice itself is huge. So promoting that practice too. It doesn't have to be a paid job to promote yourself. So I, share on social media all the time, like with my projects and things. And, I try to post daily on Facebook and Instagram. I don't have a huge following on them. Well, on Instagram, especially, but I still share my work. I still promote it. I still do what I can to put myself out there. And I joined our Chamber of Commerce, our local, I'm in like the Moms Club. Like there's all these different organizations that I'm a part of that I try to attend their meetings and get in front of people and, share about what I do. And it's just like the more you do it, the easier it becomes, the more comfortable you are. So like the initial times, like anything, you're going to be bad. I didn't give I still stumble over my words sometimes if I'm put on the spot. It's not comfortable for me. I don't like the spotlight, but I still try to do those things because I know it's necessary. And like, yeah, it's just all part of it.
Same. Like I'll do it because I know it advances me and it's like a learning experience, and I'd rather not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Well, do you have any little last bits of advice as we're wrapping this up?
I think we hit on most of it. I think, yeah, just like what we said, kind of getting out of the comfort zone and doing what you see other people doing well, and like what has worked for other people probably is going to work for you too. And like, that's kind of my take on it. Like, I'm like, okay, well, they've made it work by doing all these steps and doing this kind of thing, like getting on Thumbtack, like doing things that you and others in the academy have done. And I'm trying to kind of do that, not copying, but like doing it in my own way. Like, I feel like I have kind of, my whole thing is like, hope and love, and like with my take on like recovery, because like I'm in recovery, like that's kind of like my niche, I guess, but I don't know, like it's like to give people hope. So I try to do that through art and, in whatever ways, and increase the community, or enhance the community. But yeah, I think you develop that over time too. So I'm still developing that.
Yeah, I think we're all continually growing and getting better at what we're doing in our business and all that. And yeah, it's been so fun to watch you grow your art business so quickly, and just that fire that's under you. I hope it spreads to others and they hear this and they get inspired to do what you're doing, because it's so possible. But thank you so much for coming on, and it's so good to chat with you.
Oh, yes, you too. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Artist Academy podcast. I've been putting out at least one episode per week for more than 4 years on this podcast, and it's really cool to see those download numbers go up and up as time goes on. And that's because artists like you listen and share these episodes. So really, when I say thank you, I mean it. It's really cool to see progress along the way. And anyway, if you like this type of art and business content, then I highly encourage you to get the audio version of my book, Mural Money, with over 15 hours of listening inspiration. I'm currently running a special of just $17 for the audio version. You can go to muralmoney.com to find it. And that comes with a bunch of extras like my art supply list, my pricing guide, recommended book and podcast list, and so much more. I filled that book with tips from my art journey of building a profitable mural career. Plus, I've included the best of the best advice from guests I've interviewed on this podcast. It's the most affordable all-in-one book of advice on art and business that I have. And if you enjoy listening to me here, then I know you'll like the book too, because I read it myself, all 15 hours of it. The book is available on Amazon and Audible normally for $25, but if you go to muralmoney.com, that is where you can grab the special $17 deal while it lasts. If you haven't listened to my book yet, this is your sign to do it. Again, normally $25. I'm running a special for $17, but you have to go to muralmoney.com. That's where you can grab the audio version of it. And that's all I have for you today. So I will see you next week for another episode of the Artist Academy podcast.